All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and while I'm killing time before the pre-show live stream for Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5, and then watching Game of Thrones, and then doing the live stream review, I needed something to do, and since John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum is coming out next week, and I've already got my tickets to see it at the IMAX in about 20 minutes from my house, about a half an hour, I figured why not go back and rewatch John Wick 1 and 2 and review them for the channel, because I haven't seen John Wick 1 or 2 in a little while. It's been probably at least a year for 2 and probably 2 years for 1. And so this just seems fitting. And so let's talk about John Wick, one of the best action movies I've seen. It brought me back to action movies. Back in the day in the 90s and 80s and stuff when I was growing up, I'd see everything. When I was a kid and I was in my 20s and I thought Michael Bay was good. Dark times. They're not as dark as the times when I used to, the music I was listening to when I was like 12 or 13 years old. Those were really dark times. But anyway, John Wick brought me back to action movies because yes, I used to see everything. And then I started looking at action movies without the same kind of, I don't know, forgiveness that I used to give action movies, and kind of just grew out of them a little bit. I still love of course, my Marvel movies, my comic book movies. There are still times when movies come out that will appeal to me, like Overlord. But most of the time, I'm just not into it. Like Expendables, like Jason Statham movies. I'm just not into it. I'm not into movies with just like a big fighting action star. Never have been. And so when this movie came out, I had no interest in seeing it. I didn't see it until it came out on digital. And, I immediately was like, no, I don't want to see this movie. And Keanu Reeves, look, I think Keanu Reeves is fine. He's never, though, been a draw for a movie for me. I've never heard the name, like, hey, Keanu Reeves is in this. And I'd never gone, really? So, I mean, I'm a fan off and on, I like him fine. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey are my teens. Okay, that shit's hard, like wired into me. But that was pretty much it. I didn't like Speed. I really didn't like Speed. And the Matrix movies are just, and I didn't like Point Break at all. Fuck Point Break. I'm sorry. Just my opinion. I know a lot of people really like those movies, and I see why. I just don't. But then I saw this movie, and I was just so blown away because even though it has its plot problems, a lot of plot armor in this movie, a lot of things that could be easily done a different way. But the plot needs it to go there, and so it's an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, and it's not like a certain television show that's on its second to last episode that decided to shit the bed in the last few years. Okay, I can kind of forgive a movie like John Wick that needs to get a lot of things done in an hour and 40 minutes. Maybe make it a little bit longer to explain some things, but this movie does a good job at filling in a lot of little bits of information that explain some things that you might go, why did that happen that way? So it's also easily forgivable for that. I see John Wick as kind of a samurai character, a Ronin character. That's one of the reasons why I bet you Keanu Reeves was interested in this role. He's kind of done a lot of like Asian influenced movies, going way back, of course, to The Matrix and other things. He's been in some movies, like I've always wanted to see his, there's a couple of like direct-to-video movies that he did over there that I've never seen. I don't know. I think one's 47 Ronin. Never saw it. And then I think there's a couple more, and I've never seen them. I don't know if anybody out there knows if those are any good. If I should watch those for like either good reasons or bad reasons, leave it in the comment section below. But yeah, I've always felt like and especially now watching it this time, I really feel like he's a very strong samurai type character, a Ronin type character, where, you know, he'll work for somebody, be a samurai, but then, you know, when he finally meets his wife, he's kind of a Ronin. He's out there, he still has all that stuff out there. He's trying to change for his wife, you know, kind of Clint Eastwood Unforgiven style. The bad guy who's killed everything under the sun is now, you know, kind of going domesticated. But I love it that we know that he's had this good life. We don't actually have to see it. The way that they let us feel that from him without having major flashbacks is also really nice. So this movie doesn't have to be longer by another half an hour of like the wife and him having a good life, and then she gets cancer and, you know, all this other stuff. We don't have to deal with all that. We get right into it. You know, with her dying, we get to see that Willem Dafoe, who I forgot was even in this movie, man. I forgot I just about like a lot of people that were in this movie. But I really like Willem Dafoe in this because he's clearly set up as a friend, so that later on, you know, you can possibly think that he's, you know, made a villain turn on him. But I like, one of the other reasons I like this movie is there's no innocent really people in this. There's some people on the really, really far fringes of the peripheral maybe that are innocent in this. But just like in Road to Perdition, where Paul Newman says, there ain't nobody but killers in this room. And so you can kind of like feel like less remorse about what's happening. Like it's all gray area. Like people like us, you know, regular people don't just do what John Wick does. And we're probably better for it. Figured I'd play the trailer in here, but the cast in this, man, Michael Nyqvist, who did die, you know, not too long ago, is great in this as the villain. I like that he's the kind of villain that when he gets the phone call saying, you know, describing what happened, he doesn't go into that villainous tirade of, oh, I don't care who this is, and I don't care what he did for us. We're going to take him down. We're better than him. We're going to crush him. Boo, boo, boo. All this machismo. Instead, he immediately knows how bad the situation is. And that's so refreshing. It was one of those things that just got me right away. Is that, you know, they call him the boogeyman as kind of a nomenclature and stuff. But they really know he's not to, like, be fucked with. He's the guy you send to kill the bad guy that you thought was unstoppable. And I love that, you know, he's become this legend, this myth. So that when Theon Greyjoy comes to, like, to him, he has no idea that he's just met the boogeyman. I feel like, and this is the part that just bugged me, you know, like here I am looking at it through Game of Thrones lenses, you know, like why did they, you know, the plot needs them to create this situation, but like any person that just wants to steal a car probably doesn't try to create a incident with the person you're trying to rip off, right? I just want to make that clear. It's little things like that made me have to go stop thinking so much, okay? Because, you know, it's just like, what do we give a pass to? And what don't we give a pass to? And so it's like hard to not feel a little hypocritical when you give things a pass. I mean, at least I know the problem was there. I like that the cops just are like, they get the noise complaint for John Wick's house. They know who lives there. I'm sure that they're all in on this, which also is great because of the world building in this movie. But that they're just, yeah, we got to at least pretend that we're doing our job. We have to go there to the house. We got to knock on the door. We're not going to do anything about it. And am I crazy, or was the cop, Jimmy the cop, wasn't he from the Newsroom? Wasn't he in that? Wasn't he one of the producers on the Newsroom? If anybody knows that 1%er answer, I guess I could look it up, but I'm not going to do it right here. Also, the guy who plays the cleaner, oh gosh, where is he? I love him. He was in one of my all-time favorite movies. Yes, David Patrick Kelly from frickin' The Crow. And movies like Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis and Christopher Walken. I love this guy. And more, he's getting old. He was in some other really classic movies too, and I'm really mad that I can't remember what they are. Oh man, there's a couple like in the 80s before this movie came out, before The Crow came out, that he was really good in. But he's kind of like the Grim Reaper in this, you know? He's like does that whole thing with his hat, and he just kind of looks just like he's coming to take your soul away. I love that we got Clark Peters in here from The Wire, who doesn't get enough screen time. It's unfortunate what Adrian Palicki does to him in this movie. Hardcore with the gun to the pillow. Adrian Palicki, who, again, I love her. I wish she would go back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But I didn't know her as well back then, so she's the girl trying to, rip him, fuck him up in the Continental. And it was so great seeing her get her comeuppance, even though, since this is our first foray into the John Wick world, we don't really know what punishments are going to be doled out. And when she gets hers, it's just great. And how she just kind of accepts her fate and just goes down. I did have a problem a little bit with how when Theon, he goes after him in the club and he lets him get away. Again, plot armor. I feel like, John Wick wouldn't miss. And you can't say innocent people were in the way or anything. It's just, there's a few things with plot armor in here. And again, I like that after he kills him, you kind of feel like the movie's wrapping up. And then and that the guys, the bad guys that live, they got away with it. But then they had to go ahead and make a big deal about Willem Dafoe's character. And then they bring themselves all right back in. Almost like the bad guy Vigo was trying to create a situation that would end in his own death. Like he was playing it out like he was going to escape, but almost like he was accepting his fate, and that this whole situation he just kind of orchestrated a little bit, his own death. Feeling like still like maybe he could get away with it, but in the end I kind of feel like he just wanted this to all happen. Who else is in this? Dean Winters, who is great in everything. Some people don't like him. I happen to like him a lot. I think he, just because he's in those commercials. I've liked him a lot on things like Oz and Rescue Me. He's really great. Who else is in this? Bridget Moynihan. I've got a feeling maybe we'll see some more of her in a flashback or something in 3. And in fact, I want to go on record as saying, man, for chapter 3, there's got to be some hook. If this is like the last movie, right? It could just still play out as straightforward, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get like some crazy callback to the first movie. Everything's episodes and prequels and sequels. It's hard to keep which movie or show you're talking about straight sometimes. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get a major callback and like something important that goes all the way back to even maybe pre-first movie. I'm hoping that we get, I just wouldn't be surprised if they go that way all of a sudden. Who else is in here? The guy from Daredevil, season 1, the guy who was Kingpin's right-hand man was in this too. I really like him. He didn't get enough screen time, but that's okay. Dang it, I can't remember that guy's name. But anyway, another great thing is just this world that we got. I like the way that the movie ends. You kind of feel like this, if they maybe wrote it so that if we're not going to get another movie, it's a satisfying ending. He gets the bad guy, he gets a new dog, he walks away, you figure he'll get a new car. And so I do like how they don't really sequel bait you too hard. Because I forgot that he didn't get his damn car in this movie. This is one of my dad's favorite movies, and he knows everything. Like this is like the one time that I get to go, so what happened? What was that character's name? And he can just pull it up out of his memory. He can't even remember my name, and he remembered Perkins' names. So he really likes this movie. And that's just kind of it. There's so many different things that you could talk about. I love how Willem Dafoe goes out on his own terms, as he says. I like that you're supposed to think he makes a villain turn, but did any of us really fall for it? I certainly didn't, even the first time around, but we're supposed to think that. The soundtrack and the score is fantastic. It fits so well. Few soundtracks connect this closely, and fits what's going on, and also kind of I don't want to say subverts your expectations, because I don't want to frickin' say that phrase anymore, but they'll play like that one song when he's taking people out in the club, the smaller bar. I just thought that music, before it amps up to the techno music, was really, really good. And I think that's about it. We got John Leguizamo was in this really quickly. Again, like, he didn't get anything to do. And I kind of feel like this movie does that. And speaking of other people, you got Lance Reddick from Fringe and with The Wire. And then Ian McShane as the owner. I believe he's the owner. Maybe he isn't. Winston. Yeah. And Lance Reddick is the hotel manager. They get a lot more to do in that second movie, and we'll probably in the third one as well. I'm sure they do. Also, did anybody else hear about that Continental show that they were supposed to be doing? I thought they were going to be expanding the world of John Wick through the hotel show. And that if Chapter 3 was the last movie, they could still build off of that and make other movies and control that IP. If anybody else knows that, let me know. Otherwise, I mean, all the action sequences in this are fucking amazing. All I could think of was, I want to play this game. Will somebody please make me a John Wick game? I mean, there are elements of different games that are out there that I could play that are like this, kind of like Hitman a little bit, but Hitman is more stealth. And not being seen. Then this, once he goes in, it's pretty much, this isn't Metal Gear Solid. The alarms are going to be going off. They'd be worthless. Anyway, I hope somebody makes a game for John Wick. That would be amazing, but it's hard to get AAA licensed games to be good, for one. And then, to actually happen is another. And then after that, the game only has like a certain amount of shelf life before eventually, if you don't have a hard copy of it, you probably can't play it. And now I'm getting way off topic. But anyway, that's John Wick. The action's amazing. Keanu Reeves is amazing. There is nothing in this that I can't, let go of, because it's just an hour and 40 minutes long of just action enjoyment. And even though I do see the problems that are in it, I kind of feel like this movie gets a pass for it. And so in the next couple of days, we'll have John Wick Chapter 2 reviewed. And then on Thursday night, I will be reviewing John Wick Chapter 3. I get to go see an advanced screening in a town not too far from here. So anyway, if you liked this review, because it was a review, I'm trying to make it something, because everybody's reviewed John Wick, and I had to add my own little stuff to it. So if I kind of am all over the place, it's because you got to do something new with this material, right? So if you liked it, though, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Hit the bell for all notifications. Tell your friends about me. All that crap. Otherwise, this is Robert Smirking Again Review saying we'll see you tonight at the pre-show, and then hopefully at the review for Game of Thrones later on tonight. So have a great night, and we will see you next time.